Welcome back to a new episode of Relocate to Happiness podcast. I'm your host, Luca Chaked, and in today's episode, we will be talking about happiness and burnout. My guest is Karina Klaassen. As a keynote speaker, coach, trainer, and author of Mind Your Confidence, Mind Your Business book, her mission is to inspire and guide professionals toward lasting confidence and self-leadership at work. Let's dive into the podcast. Today, we're going to have a conversation about happiness, life, high performance, happiness and AI.
You can do this. It's a game.
This was just the first question.
Sorry.
I never thought I'd say that.
No.
You know what? Why?
I'm just thinking about the avocado, meat, food, potato. Like being very focused.
And I'm running, not ready, in underwear.
Oh, will she come in her lingerie? Like
You have to schedule sex. Put it like that.
All we need is love.
Relocate to happiness.
Welcome, Karina. We made it.
Yes, welcome. Thank you for having me, Luca.
Where are you
It's,
right now, Karina? Sorry, go ahead.
I am actually in a hotel room because tomorrow I have to give a training at the other side of the country, very early in the morning. So I wanted to be there on time and I'm already in a hotel.
You were just on time. Only me, I was like a bit not on time today. Live happening.
That's okay.
Yes, but let's go straight to my favorite topic. Today, we're going to talk about happiness and burnout, how I already mentioned. And, the truth is that I want to tell you something. You really stole my heart when we did a training during the CHO program for the Chief Happiness Officer. And usually, they're just the Zooms. There's another training. It's not like a meeting, face to face. But you managed to go through, I managed to feel like how human and how empathetic you are, even when we were on a Zoom call, even when we were not in the same meeting, in the same room. So I want everybody to hear about your story, and I want everybody to hear about your new book. So I'm very excited to have you here today.
Thank you so much for the compliment. And I'm very excited to be here as well. It's an honor. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Yeah, okay, let's go back to the happiness topic, right? Let's go straight in.
Yeah.
And I would like to ask you, of course, what's happiness for you? What does it mean to you? And how did it change during the years?
For me, happiness is really in the small things. And I think that a lot of people have, with the idea of happiness, they think about something huge. Whereas I think happiness is a state of mind, a state of contentment. And it doesn't have to be, like with high peaks. It can be, but that's not sustainable. So I think happiness as a constant state where you feel content, you feel okay, you feel relaxed, that's happiness for me. And I find happiness in the smallest things. When I go outside and I see a dog who looks at me and I can pet, for example, or I can see a beautiful flower. For me, that's happiness.
Like appreciating the small things, right?
Yes, truly, yes.
I love that.
And also being grateful for what we have.
It's also
I
a
think
big
that's
one.
part of, yes.
I actually had a workshop yesterday about happiness. And I started my presentation with the myths of happiness, there's so many fake beliefs that people think that they have to, I won't get into details because I want to let you speak today. But people, just they think they have it all or nothing. There's so many beliefs and so many wrong expectations from people, either to be happy all the time or to do, how you said, like that big thing, instead of like finding the happiness into the small things, into the, how you said, like the small miracles that happen every day.
Yeah, and I also see like as if happiness is out there and you have to do something all the time to go there. And if I do this, then I will be happy. But then they are there and they're not happy. And but if I do this, then I will be happy. No, happiness is right here, right now, being in the moment.
Yes.
And really appreciating also what is there.
Yeah, many times we condition ourselves, like when I do this, then I will be happy. When I get married, I will be the happiest. Yeah, I won't get into details on this one, but maybe my husband will listen to the podcast today. So yeah, we have like this conditioning ourselves that when we do something, then everything will change.
Yes.
And so tell me first, so what's the workshop you're going to do tomorrow?
Oh, I'm giving a workshop about the brain, how the brain works, and how we as people can adapt change easier once we know how the brain works.
I knew why I'm asking you. I knew it's a good one. It's a good topic. I love also
Thank
like
you.
neuroscience and neuroplasticity, and
Yes.
it's a subject that really, how do you say, like keeps you alive, keeps you awake at night.
Yeah, and it's also very good to have an insight on how your brain works and why we have a certain behavior and how we can influence our behavior, also in the context of happiness.
So tell me, give me a promo about it, or is it a secret?
No, it's not a secret at all. It's called the 7 brain laws. And it's just giving you a lot of insights. And I think one of the most important things is if you adapt implementation intention, it's the easiest way to change. And now you may wonder, yeah, but what is implementation intention? That is a method where we use if then. So if you already have something like you're doing on a daily basis, let's say brushing your teeth, I hope you do that on a daily basis, at least once. And if you want to change something, you add something to brushing your teeth. So for example, if you want to be more mindful, you could say, okay, every time I brush my teeth, if I brush my teeth, then I do 10 breathing exercises. That is that was researched a lot, and this is the most effective way to change something in your life.
I think I heard of
Because
it. Yeah. Tell me, go ahead, sorry.
because everything what we do, around 99% of what we do is routine. So we have to break the routine and add something to it. And if we practice enough, it will become another routine.
Yeah, like I think I heard of it when you're creating habits.
Yes.
It's like the easiest way. I have like this notebook actually. It's called Lasting Change. I got it at home. And I think this was like one of the tricks they were teaching. You're all already, how you say, like brushing the teeth is the most obvious. But like, for example, I drop off my kids in the morning, and then I'm listening to 10 minutes on the way back. I have like this application of All About Parenting with the Romanian lady, and it's just lovely. So every time, like, after I drop them, I'm in the car, right? So instead of like just putting the music or the radio, I'm having the habit of listening to her, and then it's just like it helps like to create the habit much more effective, I guess.
Yes. There's a lot of research done, and this is the most easy way to do it.
Okay. Thank you for sharing. Okay, let's go back to the burnout theme, which is a big taboo, should I say?
Yes.
Although I think today people talk about more and more. Before, I think it was like, I don't know, you'd feel shameful or you wouldn't want to talk about it. And I think that today a lot of people are actually talking about it. And I had the chance to listen. You mentioned me a bit about your story. And I wanted also my listener to hear your story. So my question is, so what is your personal experience with burnout?
I had a biggie, so to say. I was in my 30s, young mother, wanted to be perfect in everything and do everything. So I wanted to be a great mother, a great wife, the employee of the world, or not only of the month, but the best employee. Have my house great, be there for everybody. And at a certain moment, things started to break down, and I got so tired, and I hardly slept. And I did a lot, and I thought, you know what? If I put my mind to it, I can do anything. I just push harder. And I pushed and I pushed and I did everything until at a certain moment, my body said, no more. So I really, I hardly slept. I got up in the morning. I could barely walk anymore. Everything hurt. And I needed to go to the hospital. And fortunately, after some tests, etc., there was a neurologist and he said, you know what, I'm going to send you to your rehabilitation center. And I was like, rehabilitation center? And he said, yes, for chronic pain patients. If I look back now, I think, it was just a burnout. And it was, my body just gave up. They were like, okay, you can push so far with your brain, but at a certain moment, because my body and brain were not working together properly, it just switched off. And it was as if there was this voice inside of me that said, you have to slow down. But I didn't listen. I thought, oh, no. I need to do all this. And then it starts shouting harder and it starts shouting harder and it starts screaming and still not listening, because I thought, okay, just, push a little bit more. And then your body just says, now it's enough. So I remember when I got there, it was a rehabilitation center where also people were with terrible accidents, or had a brain tumor and they were rehabilitating, trying to get back on track. And I remember entering there and I felt so embarrassed because I had the feeling that I was taking up somebody else's space who needed it much harder than I did. But I learned quite quickly that this was the right place for me. And it took about 4 months of intense therapy there before I really got back on track. And it was the best thing that happened to me ever, because I needed that to be reconnecting with my body and mind and to learn how to set boundaries. So in a way, I'm very grateful of what happened, and also because I had the opportunity to go through this whole program.
I'm listening and I don't know if what's the right thing to say. I think it's heartbreaking, and I'm glad, back in now you're okay and everything is fine. But I can only imagine those time when when you got there, or why did the doctor actually send you there? It was not probably like the most obvious choice, and it was something that you were not expecting. And
No, but I also realized that something needed to happen, because I was just so exhausted. And I remember my daughter was still very young. And do you know those things you play with where you make like a small tower of plastic cups that you place? And I remember one day I was sitting with her on the floor playing, and I felt so tired. And I remember that at a certain moment, I just heard, Mommy, wake up. And I had fallen asleep while I was playing with her.
wow.
And to be honest, that was the moment for me when I thought, okay, now something has to happen. So in a way, I was really grateful for the whole program. Of course, it was a shock, but I needed it. And at least it was for me a way to, to recover. I needed healing.
Of course,
and it taught me so much. So yeah, of course it was a difficult time, but the great thing is that now I know where my boundaries are, and I also know what I can do and what I can't do, period. And if I had not learned it, I was probably still stuck with that.
Yeah.
And for me, it's so important to help other people now make a shortcut, that they don't have to go through what I went through, and make sure that they catch it on time, because I didn't caught it on time. I think with the burnout, it's quite often that you're the last one to realize you've got a burnout. Everybody else already sees it's not going very well. And you're like, no, I'm okay.
I'm still hanging in there. Wow. I wanted, I wanted to ask you, but what are the first signals or something? But I don't want to get straight into the, more details about burnout, because you gave me some precious information before. You mentioned being a perfect mom, And you mentioned,
Yes.
right, being the employee. I love this, the employee of the world. I will use it in the future if you give me the copyright. So I'm always, I'm talking to, I always say that the moms that want it all, the self-growth,
Yes.
the career, the motherhood, and they think that they want it all. So of course my question is, can we have it all?
I believe we can have it all. And we can have it all if we realize that we are perfectly imperfect. So we can have it all, but it doesn't have to be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And once you start accepting that it's okay if things are not 100%, then you can relax about it because you can accept that it's not perfect. It makes it so much easier because it takes off the pressure.
But so if you're a perfectionist, what do you do then?
I learned to zoom out, like, okay, what am I being perfectionist about? How important is that? To give you a strange example, I was such a perfectionist that when my husband would fold the towels, all the towels needed to be folded in a certain way. When, it's years ago, not anymore, but all the towels needed to be folded in a certain way, and they also had to be on color.
Oh, I
In
love
my
that.
cupboard. Everything needed to be on color. I was like Monica from Friends, like. But those are just the small things. Also in my work, I didn't allow myself to make mistakes, but we all make mistakes.
I like that.
And
It's
once
like music to my ears. Go on, tell me. I won't feel so guilty about myself, being so.
Oh.
I don't call it perfectionist. I'm just well organized. Can I say that?
I think there's a fine line between well organized and being a perfectionist. And also, like, how do you deal with it when it's not perfect? Do you feel guilty, or do you start talking very bad to yourself, like, oh, well, I don't think it's not perfect, etc. I think once you zoom out and you think, okay, the example of the towels, when we look at things that happen in the world, how important are those towels? They're not important at all. So when you realize that, like, okay, so what is really important? What is really important for you, for your listeners? If you're trying to be, well organized or more perfectionist on those areas, it's fine, but you can't be perfect in every area. You've been a model, Luca. I'm sure that you being a model, you're a beautiful woman, etc. But you also notice with yourself, you've got flaws like everybody else. And you have to accept those. And that's okay. That makes us interesting.
Yeah.
It doesn't make us losers or failures.
On this one, I have a lot to say. It's a whole. There are many stories, but I will just choose to tell you once. I did a campaign, and for I think like Sweden. I don't remember exactly, like Oriflame or something. I don't know if you know the company.
Yeah.
And my mom didn't recognize me on the. They photoshopped me so much. Then my own mom didn't like, she knew that I was going to do a campaign. It was for a perfume, so it was not for the whole catalog. I mean, they always had these products, but she knew that I went, and I was like in Stockholm, whatever, and my own mom didn't recognize me from the Photoshop. So looking back at it, if I'm looking at all the effects that I was more than 10 years in the fashion industry, and if I look at all the effects of like this perfectionism, when everything has to be, and I'm not talking in the towel example, it's like funny, but you're looking in a picture and everything, it has to be perfect. This is what they teach you, that, and then you start to believe that also it's not only that picture, but also your family. I always joke about the fact that, I imagine my family, sitting at the milk campaigns. So the parents are sitting there, and then you have the kids in white dresses coming, and it's like, "Mommy, can I have a glass of milk with vitamin?" And then they take it, right, and then they drink, and all the family sits together. And this is how I imagined, because I was like, I was that girl in the commercials, right, like with the perfect kids. Now my family is perfect in in their way, but it's not even close to that commercial for milk.
No.
So,
but also, how realistic is it, and whose image of perfect was in that commercial?
Are they selling
Because
the
what
milk or?
well, no, but also, like it's their vision about perfect, whereas somebody else's vision about perfect may be different. So you can never live up to that
Mm-hmm.
because there's always somebody who thinks, yeah, but that's not perfect for me.
Mm-hmm.
For me, this is perfect.
Yeah.
So there, and if we keep on comparing and also looking, okay, I want to be perfect for everybody, we will always feel like a failure because you can't be. So
Yeah.
let's at least accept ourselves the way we are and love ourselves and be okay. I think that's the most important thing.
I completely agree, but I think it's like an ongoing work. I think it's like we need to. I don't think it ever stops. It's like a work that it's not that I do this, today and I will do it tomorrow. Like you have to actually.
No, yeah, it's a lifestyle, I would say.
Exactly. I love that.
Yeah.
I wish I have it like all recorded, but sometimes my guests are speaking and I wish I would just take notes with big and put the markers because and I always joke that this is my therapy session, that I'm talking to people and I'm learning so much. Okay, you also mentioned about helping people, that you start helping people, and I really really want to talk about your book that you just you just wrote. So tell me about. Do you have it? Do you have it with you?
Yes, I've got it with me. So it's called Mind Your Confidence, Mind Your Business.
In English.
It's in English, yes, because I think then I can reach a wider audience than just having it in Dutch. And I worked for a lot of multinational companies, so I'm used to, to having our conversations in English.
Which reminds me to give
about...
me the link to put it in the show notes for the listeners. How they can get the book.
Yeah, thank you. It's on Amazon, but if you go to my website, www.confidenceatwork.nl, you will find it.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yes. So what I realized for myself is that I was really insecure. And when I was pregnant, my husband and I sat together and we were talking to each other like, okay, so what was the one thing growing up that was so difficult for us? And we both agreed that it was being insecure. And I've come a long way from being really insecure now to speaking to big audiences, etc., and feeling really confident, training, etc. And I thought, what if I can help others with that? What if I can show them that confidence is a skill? Because what we did with our daughter when she was born, because we knew it was the subject that was hurting us so much and made it so much more difficult for us, we decided to really focus on developing her confidence. And she has become such a confident woman. Sometimes I even think maybe a little too much, but okay. Maybe
It
we can't
happened.
go
It
too much.
happened. Better
Yeah,
overconfident than the low self-esteem.
Yeah. But at least it's not holding her back. So that was the reason, also because of my experience in multinational companies, that also when you are not fully secure, it has such an impact on your career and on your success and also on your happiness. So that was the reason why I thought, okay, how can I help others to gain more confidence? And that was why I wrote the book.
Wait, but you said something very important and I want to take it from here. So how can it actually affect the low self-confidence? How can actually it affect you? I have like a few ideas. How can it affect your impact on everything, on your career, on your happiness, give me a few.
Well, yes. Well, a lot of people who feel low in confidence, they don't see themselves, first of all. So they go to work and nobody sees them because they don't see themselves either. So they don't feel appreciated. They don't feel seen. When you're very insecure and you're, for example, in a meeting and you have a great idea, it's really difficult to speak up and to say, okay, I have this great idea, especially when nobody sees you, nobody hears you. Like you might go like this, or you may not even raise your hand or say something. It also has an impact on taking decisions. You doubt yourself. Am I doing it right? Or am I doing it wrong? Shall I do it? Will I not do it? So at work, that means maybe that you're not going for that promotion, that you're not even applying, or that you have to do something, but it takes too long because you keep doubting yourself. You have to write this report, but it's never enough. It's like endless because you want it to be perfect, and in your eyes, it's never perfect.
It's true.
So it all adds up, and then you feel like, okay, I am not enough, which leads to a sense of lack where you don't feel happy, and you probably get thoughts like, okay, nobody likes me, or nobody thinks I'm enough, or I'm not doing this well, which leads to feeling less happiness. And also it affects your success because, yeah, how can you be successful? You know, like maybe you're very successful in talking yourself down. Let's put it that way.
And I have another question on this one. How bad is to actually see yourself? You said that people go to work and they don't see themselves, they don't listen, then they don't see themselves heard, listened to, and all this. How bad though it's like seeing yourself through the eyes of the others? It's how bad it's like to actually care only about the opinions of the others, and how, like, what are the impacts, like the negative impacts on this one?
I say they're huge. If you only try to live up to the expectations of others, you have to be like a chameleon, because this person wants that of you, the other person wants that of you, and then in the end you have to adapt all the time. And who are you? What's your real identity? What do you really want in life? So you sort of lose yourself. And what I always say is, so often people give their power away to what other people think of them, or what they think of
Exactly.
them. It might be even worse.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the power is actually inside of you. So if you look much more inside, learn to know yourself much better, then you can also set boundaries. Because the problem is, if you try to please everybody all the time, it's very hard to set boundaries. They will cross them, and maybe you don't even know where your boundaries are. That was for me a big problem.
I think it's it comes back to me so many people, like it's such a big subject. I should definitely have a podcast about boundaries and happiness and boundaries, and how healthy it is, to put this to put like healthy boundaries.
Yes.
Before that, I really want to ask you about the book. Like, you told me, how did you get the idea? But what actually inspired you to be an author? I'm struggling myself. I was invited now to co-author my first book, but I have my idea for my own book, and I'm not, I'm just not pushing through. So how did you get to this point of actually publishing the book and actually taking it out, now promoting it? It's not easy.
It's a strange story.
I
was I am part, and at the moment I'm in the board actually, of the Association of Transformational Leaders, which is a network club of people who help others transform. And I was at a live event, and you have to imagine that there's all kinds of people doing so many beautiful things. So there's a beautiful atmosphere there. And we were in a meditation, and all of a sudden, it was as if somebody said to me, "Write your story." And I was like, okay, write your story. What should I write about? And all of a sudden, stories came up to me, and I thought like, oh, do I really want to write about it? And the weird thing is, because I got this message, and I'm sure nobody heard it, but at that same event, like 4 or 5 people came to me independently and said, "Why don't you write a book?" And I was like, well, I didn't intend to write a book, but
now I'll think about it.
Yeah, I'll think about it. So I thought about it, and then my biggest challenge was, what should I write about, and how can I bring everything together? You know, my experience, my personal life, experiences from others. I'm also a coach, so experiences from my coachees, and also the experience I have in business. And then in January, I don't know, all of a sudden it was like, yeah, it's confidence. It's confidence and how that affects your happiness and your success. And then I have to tell you, Luca, when you want to write a book, you enter in a whole different world. So yeah, you have to find out, do I want to self-publish? Do I want to go with a publishing company? Do I want to work with an agent, etc., etc.? So it took a lot of, of pre-work, so to say, because actually writing the book, I didn't think was so difficult. I think
You were in
I
flow.
knew what I wanted to, yes, and I knew what I wanted to write about, and I knew how I wanted readers to have a shortcut and to have exercises that they can apply straight away to get more confidence and also in the end get more self-love. So that wasn't the difficult part, to be honest. I think it was more everything that's around the publishing, the launching, getting your book out there, etc.
Interesting. Good to know, huh?
Yeah.
For this one.
Yeah.
Okay, so just we have like a few more minutes left, and I really want to go back to the subject of the episode, and that's the big burnout. And I wanted to ask you at the beginning, and then I just I said like okay, like I have to touch, like you threw me some bombs there, so I have to really ask more questions. You mentioned that everybody actually already was seeing the signs that you were
Yes.
burnout except for yourself. So I want to ask you, like, what are those hidden signs and how, other people can avoid them?
Yeah. Well, I think first of all, I have to say burnout is a very big thing. So not all the symptoms will be the same with every person. And I also think that a lot of people think that a burnout is when you are showing a lot of signs of fatigue. But there's also another type of burnout where people are working so hard and they continue to work hard. So those signs may be different from somebody who has a lot of fatigue. But what I think is one common thing is that you don't recover anymore after resting. So it starts slowly. Now you may have a very tired day, and then you sit maybe on the couch with your perfect children, and
Dress
then
in
when they go
white,
to
right? Like
dress in white, yes, like a Stepford wife, and then you
and then
go
the
to
dog
bed
comes in, brings me the newspaper, like
yes, everything, and you have this perfect meal, like I see it all, but then you go to bed and you wake up and in the morning you feel recovered. You feel like, okay, I've got energy for the day. But I think one of the biggest signs is that you're so depleted of energy that you can't recharge your battery. That's the problem with burnout. And it's often a lot of people think it's fully related to the amount of stress, but it's much more related to how to recover. So you can have a lot of stress, and if you know how to recover, there's no problem. But if you don't know how to recover, then you're sort of depleting yourself more and more and more until there is hardly anything left. I think those are big signs. And what I see, because I've been a manager too for many years, and I've seen it a lot with also people in my team. That I saw how they started behaving, like, okay, no, I can't take the day off because I'm too busy. No, I don't have time to go to the gym. And those are signals also, like that people start avoiding situations which might actually recharge their battery because they don't feel any joy anymore. So they think I don't feel like going out with friends because I'm too tired.
It's like
But
a cycle,
actually,
right? Like you cannot get out
it's
of.
no, you cannot get out of. Yeah, it's only getting, worse and worse and worse until you sort of, sit there like a potato couch.
So
That's
if I
it.
would say, so if somebody would ask me, or if somebody would ask you, how would you recognize it? It's like losing pleasure in things that used to bring you joy until now. Like you mentioned the gym, you
That
mentioned
that
going.
is I think that's one thing, but you can also see it like when people don't feel they have time for anything anymore. Like they want to take time off because they're constantly busy, and then you see they get tired, like they sleep
The dark
bad,
circles. Yeah,
etc.
yeah, yeah.
Dark circles, but it also requires from other team members and as line managers that you really pay attention to the people you work with that are in your team. Because I think that's nowadays also a challenge.
Of course, it's one of the biggest challenge. Yeah, I
Yes,
think.
yes. Yeah, because when we were still all at the office, you could see what was happening, and you could see if somebody would turn up in the morning being really tired, and you would have a conversation at the coffee machine, and you would say, "Okay, how are you doing?" And they would say, "I did have a bad night." Well, if that happens for 2 weeks, then like, but now because so often we work only online, it's much more difficult to really tune in.
I get it. Okay, so let's go for like deeper into preventing burnout. Which strategies would you recommend? Like, how can we stop? How can we get? How can we make it not to get to that point where we burn out? Like, how can we prevent it before we even get, halfway?
Yes, yes. I think one of the biggest thing is to set your boundaries. Like, but for that you have to know yourself, accept that you're perfectly imperfect, and make choices. What do I do and what don't I do? I see so many people, also my coaches, that have a fear of missing out. Like, okay, I'm already tired, but yeah, I need to check social media. I need to know what my friends are doing on Instagram. And then I tell them, okay, what if you would stop for a whole week? And then they come to me and I say, what did you miss? Well, actually, nothing. So I think you have to make deliberate choices where you put your energy in, and find out what brings energy to you and what doesn't, what costs a lot of energy. And see if you can maybe, if we talk about balance the things where you get a lot of energy from versus the ones that you don't get energy from. We will all have tasks or things we need to do or people we need to see that may not be giving you, like, oh yeah, I'm looking forward. That's
Yeah.
part of life. But how can you make sure that you also do things that give you pleasure, and be aware? And I think maybe even more important it is that we breathe, because we are like walking, talking heads. We are like, all the time in our minds, and we've lost the connection with our body. So for me, it's also very important that people do physical exercises. And what works for you may be something different than what works for me, but it's really important to keep doing things with your body so that you can connect and that you can give your body the signal that you're safe at this moment, that you come out of your head and connect with your body.
I couldn't agree more, especially on the one with the physical movement, If I have like the perfect week with my perfect kids, yeah. So I have like the perfect time, everything goes perfect at work. But then I'm like, I'm so anxious, something happened, and they're like, oh, I missed my training. If I don't go to the gym or if I don't do something, it really affects my overall well-being. Like I have to, or you travel a lot and you don't have time. I need to train. I need to do something. It really has like a negative impact on my mood.
Yes, but then in addition to that, what about food? I mean, we all know that food has a huge impact on how you feel as well. So that is also one factor, that plays a role. And I know we don't have time to go into that as well, but yeah, eating healthy is also adding up to your to feeling better.
Yeah. And I would add also for longevity, it would add some years to your life. I always recommend the Blue Zone, not the Blue Zone. What's the name of the How to Live to 100 documentary of Dan Butler on Netflix, right?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
you can get some ideas from there. Okay, I know you're doing so many things, and I know that you're also a consultant for the Happiness Business School, and this is how we met. And I know that you're, sharing happiness at the workplace, and it's an important topic for you. So I want to ask you, like, what are your future plans? Like, where are you heading? What's your vision? We are like almost at the end of the year now. I want to ask you, what do you wish for yourself for the next year? And
I wish to reach as many people as possible so that they don't have to go through the same journey I had, and have a shortcut to make them aware of how you can be happier at the moment, in the moment. Yes, that's for me really important.
Oh, and it's a beautiful one. Just the last question. Do you have any questions for me before that?
Oh. Okay, from this whole interview, what was the thing that pops up in your mind straight away when I ask you?
I think there are many things, but I think that the part of the beginning when you start telling me about the whole, although it's like, I already know the story with the burnout, but how it happened and how you got there, and these things with about motherhood and about being the perfect career woman and trying to do everything. And I think there are so many women nowadays that they're struggling with that. For sure, it's like a theme that to continue to be a topic that it should be more tackled. And
yes.
I think it's very important, and I think that it's very important, like for people in general, to understand like what is burnout and how is it actually, how does it manifest? How can you stop it? How can you be aware of it? How can you just not be ashamed of it? How can you get to the point to talk to somebody about it? Even to your, if it's a closer friend or somebody from the family that they can send to you to someone. Yeah. You don't have to get to the point. I was interviewing like a couple of weeks ago someone, the same story more or less, even more dramatic. She couldn't get out of out from her bed. So it's everywhere around us, and it happens a lot. I mean, also for men, because they have a lot of responsibility, but to so many women in the world of the social media, in the world of technology, in the world of the FOMO, that everybody wants to, they have to know everything. They have to be part of everything. They have to be present. They cannot disconnect. A lot of work to be done.
Yes, definitely. Yes.
Would you like to add something else? Something that I didn't ask you, and any question that you wanted me to ask you and I didn't?
Oh, well, I've got the feeling there are many questions that we can still tackle. I think we can have 10 more podcasts, to be honest. So, there's nothing but pops up at the moment. No, thank you.
Okay. So thank you so much. I know that you have like a very strict schedule, and you have some calls and some and a workshop tomorrow. So good luck with that one. Thank you so much for taking the time. And yes, many podcasts to come.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Karina.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Relocate to happiness.